to music, the consciousness that you possess is the consciousness through which you will internalize that which you are watching, that which you are listening to, that which you are reading. So the key is to expand your consciousness, because if you only have a thimble-sized consciousness, you can only retain a thimble amount of information. So the more you expand your consciousness, the deeper you can go, the deeper and broader your understanding of what it is you are consuming. So as people of African ancestry, we often have been taken advantage of and exploited by others who manipulate us emotionally. And we've got to move beyond just allowing ourselves to be moved here and there by others who may not have our own best interests at heart, but begin to become critical thinkers of what it is we are consuming. So let's get into it. Let's look at this picture, Get Out. Get Out is the directorial debut of Jordan Peele, who is one half of the comedy duo of Key and Peele. Now, to be honest with you, I've never watched Key and Peele. I saw one episode they did, which turned me off, and I said, I don't have a desire to watch it because I'm very conscientious about what it is I watch, what it is that I listen to. I don't just listen to anything. And so I was initially skeptical about seeing this film until several people whose opinion I value and appreciate told me, Tony, you need to see this film. I really would like to hear your critique of this film. And so I went to see it, and I found it to be much better than I anticipated. And as I was preparing this presentation for Baltimore last week, I spent a lot of time watching the film. I saw the film about 4 times. I read numerous articles and dug down and got some research and found some good information that allowed me to see the film through a different lens. And so that's what I want to talk about this afternoon. Jordan Peele is the writer of Get Out, which has been marketed as a comedy horror film. But I think that depiction or description of the film is kind of misleading because it's really a satirical thriller that depicts the horrors of a black man living and loving in post-racial America. The film contains just enough humor to make the horror of American racism palatable to the audience. See, his motivation for writing this film was immediately after Obama was elected in 2008. And all the media started talking about we're now living in a post-racial society. Well, it just so happens that Jordan Peele, his comedy partner, Keegan-Michael Key, and Barack Obama are all mulattoes. They all have white mothers. And one of the things that disturbed me about this comedy sketch, this comedy duo, was that I was kind of offended by the fact that here we have two mixed race comedians representing the African American experience, which I knew was flawed. And again, to go back and cite the one skit that I saw that offended me was a skit where they played 2 enslaved Africans on the auction block. And they were upset because they never got bought. That offended me. I cannot imagine a Jewish comedian doing a skit about a Jew who complained because he was never sent to the gas chamber. So their comedy, to me, depicted a lack of sensitivity about things that are important to me, important to us. So I never watched the show, was hesitant about seeing the film, but once I saw the film, I began to realize that there were other things going on, and that my opinion of Jordan Peele has changed, because I think he has changed. So Get Out was released on February 24th of this year. And the weekend that it was released, it was the #1 movie in America, which means a whole lot of folk saw that movie. And it made a whole lot of money. So let's just look at the stats regarding the film. The film cost $4.5 million to make, which is cheap by Hollywood standards, $4.5 million. But it made $33.4 million its first weekend. The audience that first week was 38% African American, 35% white, 27% other, which means that 62% of non-African Americans saw this film and helped to make this film the #1 film in the box office. So it wasn't necessarily a black film, even though it had a black protagonist. It wasn't necessarily a black film because most of the actors in the film were white. So it was crafted in such a way that non-African Americans could see the film, but yet identify with the protagonist and experience some of what he experienced regarding racism in America, which I thought was pretty clever. So after 8 weeks in the box office, Get Out has grossed $163.8 million in North America and Canada. Worldwide, it has grossed $13.8 million for a worldwide gross of $177.6 million, which is a 3,851% return on investment. That's a hell of a return on investment, all right? Which means that he's made a whole lot of money, and Hollywood is going to give him plenty of other opportunities to make more films to make more money. Because show business is 5% show, 95% business. And it's all about the box office. It's all about getting meat in the seats. That's the only thing that matters to them. So he has made a whole lot of folk, or a handful of folk, a whole lot of money. And he'll be given other opportunities to do the same. So let me do a quick survey. How many of you all have seen the film Get Out at least once? Raise your hands. Say almost half of you all. How many of you all have seen the film at least twice? Raise your hand. Fewer numbers of people. Okay. Well, Jordan Peele said that in order to really appreciate this film, you have to see it at least twice. You have to see it twice because of all of the Easter eggs that he hid in the film. Things, very subtle things in the film that you'll miss seeing it the first time. Watching a second or a third time, you begin to see things that you didn't see the first time, and the film even makes more sense. And you're able to get a bit more appreciation for how skillfully crafted this film is. What's also significant is that Jordan Peele is also the director of the film. This is his directorial debut. So it's the first directorial film by an African American that has grossed over $100 million. So he has tapped into something, and he's made a lot of money. He's a very skillful writer, a very skillful director, and the box office proves that. So I want to show a trailer of the film for those of you all who haven't seen it. For those of you who have seen it, this will be a little reminder of what the film is all about, and then I'll get into an examination of the multiple Easter eggs that are in this film. Is that okay? Yeah. All right, so let's check out the trailer.
You got your toothbrush?
Check.
Do you have your deodorant?
Check.
Do you have your cozy clothes?
Got that.
What?
Do they know I'm black?
Should they?
You might wanna,
Mom and Dad, my black boyfriend will be coming up this weekend. I just don't want you to be shocked that he's a black man.
I ain't never seen you like this before, bruh. Meeting families, taking road trips. Don't come back all bougie, man. Come back, got your damn pants up to your damn stomach.
So you guys coming up from the city?
Yeah, we're just heading up for the weekend.
Can I see your license, please?
He wasn't driving.
I didn't ask who was driving. I asked to see his ID.
Call me Dean and you're hungry, my man.
So how long has this been going on, this thing? We hired Georgina and Walter to help care for my parents. When they died, I couldn't bear to let them go.
Do you smoke in front of my daughter?
I'm gonna quit.
She'd take care of that for you.
How?
Hypnosis.
I'm good, actually.
Are you ready for this?
I'm back in beat.
So look, I go do my research. Apparently, a whole bunch of brothers been missing in this suburb. But it's cool. Bro, how you not scared of this, man?
Good to see another brother around here.
Chris was just telling me how he felt much more comfortable with my being here.
Yo.
Sorry, man.
Get out! Yo!
Rose, we gotta go.
Is everything okay?
Rose, the keys. Just get the keys.
I don't know where they are.
Rose?
Sink into the floor.
Wait.
Sink.
Mine is a terrible thing to waste. Terrible thing to waste.
If there's too many white people, I get nervous.
So that's the trailer. So after watching the film 2 or 3 times, you can begin to see how layered the story is and how intricate the trap is that is set for Chris. So I want to focus on 9 important facts about the film and share with you some of the backstory behind some of these elements. Fact number 1, music is my sanctuary. The soundtrack played during the first 5 minutes of this film basically tell you the whole story. See, because when you're doing a film, every aspect of every film, or every aspect of everything that you see in the media is there for a purpose. It has value whether you are conscious of it or not. Every object that you see placed in the screen, all the music, all the sounds that you hear are designed to evoke some reaction within you, whether you are conscious of it or not. So if you think about a film, one of the things that I like to do when I watch films, I like to watch the credits. Because traditionally, when we see a film, we focus on the stars, the handful of people, a dozen people who may be the stars of the movie. But if you watch the credits, you notice there are literally hundreds of names that scroll down the screen. Those are the people who are working behind the camera to make the actors or the actresses look good. If it wasn't for these technicians, these people behind the scenes, the film would not be a film. You've got to edit it. You've got to do the sound editing. You've got to do the mixing. You got to do all of these things to make a film engaging. And so I'm always interested in watching how artists do their thing and acknowledging and appreciating what artists do. So the soundtrack to this movie is important in that it tells you, as I said in the first 5 minutes, what this film is all about. The film opens with Andre, this brother, walking around in the neighborhood looking for somebody he's lost when he's kidnapped, right, by the brother, Jeremy. And Jordan Peele said that he wrote that scene into the film after the murder of Trayvon Martin. And so that particular scene was to represent what happens to black men, how easily picked off they can be. And there's no response. It's just black men, so nobody cares. But that film opens with Jeremy, who's driving a white car and wearing a knight's helmet, and the tune that is blasting from his stereo is a tune entitled Run, Rabbit, Run. Now, what does that mean? Andre is the rabbit. The brother is the rabbit who is being hunted by Jeremy, who is wearing a knight's helmet and driving a white car. So why a knight's helmet? Why a white car? If you're going to kidnap somebody, why would you drive a white car unless it's all symbolic? A white knight, or the white knights, were the most violent branch of the Ku Klux Klan. The white knights of the Ku Klux Klan, all right? And the idea of a black man being hunted like a rabbit all tied into this idea of hunting black people was sport for white folk. They would hunt us down like rabbits, hence the song, Run, Rabbit, Run. And to reinforce that theme, if you all remember, when Chris got to the Armitage's house for dinner, what did the mother, Missy, serve them for dessert? Any of y'all remember what she served them for dessert? Rabbit cake. Right? I mean rabbit cake, carrot cake, same thing. Same thing, all right? So these are very subtle things that tell a larger story if you're keyed into the larger story. And then after Andre is kidnapped, there's a soundtrack that plays during the opening credits. That soundtrack has a very haunting melody. Now, Jordan said that he wanted an original tune that would have an African flavor to it, and so he left the writer to come up with this tune, and the title of the tune is Sikazili Kwawehele, which is a Swahili phrase that means listen to your ancestors, all right? Listen to your ancestors. So the whole story is about a black man who's in an interracial relationship with a white woman, right? And he gets kidnapped. But the opening music to the film is a Swahili song that says, listen to your